Hi, and welcome to BeatleDave's Beatles channel. Today's video is episode 7 of the solo years, so please come and join me. So hello again, and a wonderfully warm welcome today to BeatleDave's Beatles channel. I really hope I find all you fantastic Beatles people doing really well out there, and thank you so much for joining me again today on the channel. So today's video is episode 7 of the solo years, the 1970s, where I'm going to be looking at what's probably regarded as the finest John Lennon LP, and it was the last one recorded in the UK, sadly before he left these shores. So yes, of course, it's the one and only Imagine LP. So in this series, I'm going to be showing every single Beatles solo album in order of release for the 1970s, also including any USA issues and reissues within the time frame, and of course any 8 tracks along the way as well. So that's going to be coming up very, very soon, but before then it's time for something completely different. It's Ask BeatleDave, yeah! Ah yes, it's welcome to Ask BeatleDave, where I'll be answering your questions that you have about anything Beatles related, maybe about anything I've shown or haven't shown, about the guys' solo careers or films, or just about anything you can think of, and I'll endeavour to answer it right here for you guys. So today's question then is from Michael Rice. How you doing, Michael? Hope you're doing well, my friend. And he asks, BeatleDave, what did you learn that you didn't know prior to viewing Mr. Jackson's documentary of Get Back? Yeah, actually, there's a few things that come to mind with that question. And firstly, the biggest thing which just blew me away totally was the amount of songs that Paul McCartney was writing around this time. It's almost like he was writing, or at least starting a song, you know, every single day. You know, multiple ideas just coming to Paul continuously. And to see Paul starting to write the nucleus of Get Back on the spot just pretty much confirms the fact of how gifted Paul McCartney really is as a songwriter. Another thing actually that I thought about is how much they actually smoked and consumed alcohol, you know, during just that period, you know, during those sessions. It just seemed like they were lighting up or guzzling alcohol just about every other minute. It's just quite astounding. So finally then, one more thing which kind of got me thinking was just how much Mal Evans was just totally there for the Beatles, 100%. With no favouritism shown to any one Beatle, he was just right there in the middle of their inner circle, and they knew they could rely on him and completely trust the man. And apparently he was a really nice guy as well. So Michael, I really hope that answers that question for you. And guys, if you want to contribute to Ask BeatleDave, why not just send me a question in the comments and I'll include it in a future episode. It's that simple. So come on guys, please me by getting involved and ask me some super questions. Okay then, we're going to be moving on, and of course it's time for I Call Your Name. So of course it's on to them old shout outs, and it's a great big BeatleDave hello to Steve by Sia Dubada, Gavin Norman, Edward Russell, The Walrus Was Danny, Brennan's Bootlegs, David Jones, I bet you're a bit of a monkey, Sailor Sam, and Apple Man. So that's a big hi to you guys from yours truly, BeatleDave. So it's on to the main event then today, guys, and we continue with the solo years episode 7, and it's the John Lennon Imagine LP. So please come and join me. Imagine by John Lennon was first released by Apple Records in the USA on the 9th of September 1971, with the UK release being a whole month later on the 8th of October. The album was recorded from early 1971 to July 1971 at Ascot Sound and also the Record Plant USA, with It's So Hard and I Don't Want to Be a Soldier initially being recorded at the sessions for the single Power to the People. John had initially asked George Harrison to participate in the upcoming sessions, as well as enlisting Klaus Voormann, Nicky Hopkins, Jim Keltner, Alan White and also members of Badfinger. It was during these sessions that John previewed a new song to his fellow musician friends called Imagine, which would become his signature song, which John regrettably remarked later should have been initially credited to Lennon and Ono. Some of the songs were several years old, with Jealous Guy originally called Child of Nature, which dated back to the White Album, and Give Me Some Truth being aired during the Get Back sessions in January 1969. One particular song, How Do You Sleep, was written during an intense period of bad feeling between John and Paul, with John citing some of the Ram songs as an attack on the Lennons, in which John used his resentment to make a full-scale attack on Paul. The last song on the album, Oh Yoko, had actually been considered by EMI as a possible single from the album, but John considered the song as too pop to be issued. With the album being co-produced by Phil Spector, the final overdubs were added in July 1971 at the record plant, with the so-called Flux Fiddlers adding the orchestral overdubs and King Curtis adding saxophone. The front cover photo was taken on a Polaroid camera by Yoko Ono, with the package containing a printed inner sleeve, a poster, and a postcard featuring John with a pig, making a mockery of Paul's similar pose on his Ram album. Hitting #1 in both the UK, USA and several other territories, Imagine was a commercial and critical success in its time, with Melody Maker naming Imagine as the best album of the year. So let's take a look. So here it is then, the John Lennon album Imagine. Going to start with the USA first pressing, which was released on Apple Records on the 9th of September 1971, catalogue number SW3379. So starting with the cover then, and of course we've got a complete shrink wrap on this, but it's obviously open at the side. But it's in lovely shape, absolutely superb. So you've got a great picture of John there. Of course, Imagine, John Lennon. And obviously the lyrics, you know, you've got John saying, you may say I'm a dreamer. And obviously it looks like John's got his head in the clouds. So I suppose it's kind of apt, I suppose. Obviously the artwork, design and photos by Yoko as well. Really great design. Great photos, of course. Once again, there you've got John looking at the clouds. And we've got that little quote from Yoko, bottom left there. Imagine the clouds dripping. Dig a hole in your garden to put them in. Yoko, 1963. And on the right there, of course, we got Imagine, John Lennon with that Apple logo. And we've got the fabulous spine, of course. Imagine, John Lennon, Apple, and the catalogue number. So when you got your original Imagine LP then in the USA, you would have possibly got one or either of these postcards. So we're going to start with the one on the left then. This is a repo postcard, this particular one. And if you look closely to the left-hand side there, you've got Yoko's head on some sort of body there, with actually beyond Yoko to the left, it looks like Julian, just up here, just about there. And the actual, I'm guessing the guy with the panpipes is supposed to be John. He's obviously got glasses on as well, so it's quite possible John. So this is the original one, actually, I got with this particular set of Imagine. So you've got John there with his pig, obviously making a bit of a mockery of the Paul McCartney album, Ram. But it's still a great thing to see, still a great postcard. It's quite funny really, but obviously John wasn't being so friendly at the time. But it's great to have. It's obviously an original one, this postcard. So with your original copy then, you would have got, of course, the original poster. And I think most subsequent copies have got this poster as well. It's actually taken by Peter Fordham, the actual photo itself. But it's a lovely poster. A really nice poster of John at his piano, recording Imagine itself. Really great photo. So on to the printed inner sleeve then. And I must confess, I actually do prefer the USA version because it's a die cut one, and I just think it just looks better with obviously the picture of John on the record, of course, in the centre of the label. It really looks much better coming through the actual inner sleeve. And of course you've got some faces there, some I know and some I don't. Obviously, you've got some of the people involved in the album. Of course, you've got the likes of George Harrison, obviously with guitar and slide guitar, Nicky Hopkins on keyboards, Klaus Voormann on the bass, Alan White on drums, Jim Keltner drums, Jim Gordon, King Curtis on saxophone, and of course, two guys from Badfinger, Joey Molland and Tommy Evans playing as well. So you've got a load of information there on the album and all the faces. And on the opposite side then, of course, we've got all the lyrics, starting with Imagine this side and working our way around, all the way around there to side 2. Give Me Some Truth, of course, and ending somewhere around here with Oh Yoko. Fabulous stuff, all the lyrics, great stuff. So onto the fabulous USA vinyl then. Got a great label of John there. John's face superimposed, of course, in the apple itself. So you've got Imagine there, John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band with the Flux Fiddlers. You've got some copyright details of McLean Music on the left. With on the right, you've got stereo and the catalogue number and side 1. And then we've got all the tracks there listed with Imagine, Crippled Inside, Jealous Guy, It's So Hard, and I Don't Want to Be a Soldier. Of course, you've got produced by John and Yoko and Phil Spector, with the Apple Records details at the bottom there, manufactured by Apple Records Inc. And the matrix on this side then is SW-1-3379 and Z16. Really great album, a very poppy album for John, and it's possibly in my top 3. I think Imagine would certainly be 2nd or 3rd place, with Walls and Bridges being 1st, and possibly Plastic Ono Band being 2 or 3, depending on what day of the week. But let's flip that over then. Another great looking label. Once again there you've got Imagine, John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band with the Flux Fiddlers, and stereo on the right with the catalogue number and side 2, with some more information there about McLean Music copyright details. And of course we've got the fabulous songs on this side. Give Me Some Truth, Oh My Love, How Do You Sleep, How, and Oh Yoko. We're produced by John Yoko and Phil Spector, with of course the manufactured by Apple Records Inc. right at the bottom. Really does sound good, this vinyl actually. It's in lovely condition as well. With the matrix being then on side 2 is SW-2-3379 Z15. Super stuff. So moving on then to the USA 8-track of Imagine, released by Apple Records on the 9th of September 1971, catalogue number 8XW3379. So this tape is in absolutely superb condition then. Of course it's still sealed, as you can see. Got a few little bubbles in there unfortunately, which is, they're quite prone to that actually, these that are bubbling, you know, it does seem to happen quite a lot. But you've got the same picture of John there, Imagine John Lennon, with that white Apple logo there. Of course you got program 1, 2, 3 and 4, slightly different order there, as you got How Do You Sleep as the penultimate track. You've got capital 8-track stereo. Then on the bottom there you got Imagine, John Lennon. Of course you got a price sticker there of $7.99. Then on the top of course you got capital 8-track stereo. Then on the back pretty much the same details with the warranty, and of course you got a member of the EMI group, Capital. Great stuff. So now then we're on to the UK first pressing of Imagine, released on Apple Records on the 8th of October 1971, catalogue number PAS10004. So onto the sleeve then of course, which is fully laminated. You've got the same artwork as on the USA version of course, with Imagine, John Lennon there, with John and the clouds. The Polaroid taken by Yoko of course. And flipping that over then, once again, exactly the same details, with Yoko's quote there, bottom left, and of course we've got the catalogue number, as well as printed in England. Then on the right hand side we've got Imagine, John Lennon there. Slight little bit of laminate left in there. Just take a look at that spine then. So you've got Imagine, John Lennon, Apple, and of course that catalogue number. So onto the original postcard then. It's in great shape, this one, fantastic shape. I believe some were actually bordered and some weren't, but this is definitely 100% original, but it's in perfect shape. Once again then, we've got the poster. Slightly different quality this one feels to the USA one. This one feels like it's slightly shinier, it's got more of a sheen to it. So let's just fold that out, and you can see John at his piano there. In great shape, this poster, really nice condition. So onto the printed inner then, UK original printed inner sleeve. Got all the faces, just like the USA one, and all the same details there in the centre. Obviously it's not die cut, as I mentioned before. And then on the other side then, of course, you've got all the printed lyrics there to all the songs with the patents number at the bottom and made in Great Britain as well. This one's in absolutely superb shape. So onto the fabulous vinyl then, UK first pressing vinyl. Lovely weight to this one. It's got to be at least 150 gram. Super looking label, of course, of John again. You've got that Apple Records perimeter around the rim there, of course, with Imagine, John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band, with the Flux Fiddlers, who are actually the New York Philharmonic Orchestra. Of course, on the left there, you've got an EMI recording with 33 1/3, manufactured in the UK. With on the right there, you've got stereo, the catalogue number, and of course, side 1. With the songs Imagine, Crippled Inside, Jealous Guy, It's So Hard, and I Don't Want to Be a Soldier. Produced by John, Yoko, and Phil Spector. With the matrix on side 1 then being YEX 865-1U. And this is in absolutely beautiful condition, this record, really nice. So flipping that over then, side 2. Once again there you've got the Apple Records around the perimeter, with Imagine by John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band with the Flux Fiddlers. An EMI recording there, 33 1/3, and manufactured in the UK. With on the right there you've got stereo, catalogue number, and side 2. And on the right also you've got the P1971, of course, with the next lot of tracks there: Give Me Some Truth, Oh My Love, How Do You Sleep, How, and Oh Yoko, produced by John, Yoko, and Phil Spector. And once again then the matrix on side 2 is YEX 866-1U, and this sounds absolutely phenomenal. This album really does sound fantastic. So on to then the UK Quadrophonic edition then of Imagine, released by Apple Records in approximately about 1972 to 1973, catalogue number Q4PAS10004. So onto the sleeve then, of course, which is once again fully laminated. But as you can see there, top right we've got SQ, which is Quadrophonic sound, but obviously back to front it should be QS really, shouldn't it? But then you've got John there, great picture of John with Imagine, John Lennon. And flipping that over then, of course, once again you've got that fabulous picture of John looking towards the clouds, and we've got the quote from Yoko with the catalogue number, printed in England, and Quadrophonic there. And of course you've got some information about how to use Quadrophonic equipment, and of course Imagine, John Lennon, and that Apple. And then we've got, of course, the spine. So onto the inner sleeve then, and my copy has this Quadrophonic sound inner sleeve. I have seen copies out there with the original printed inner, so it might be that they just run out of them. But obviously you've got all the information there about Quadrophonic sound and how to set your system up, etc, etc. It does sound slightly different than actually the original stereo mix, obviously if you play it on a stereo system. So it might be that it just generates a slightly different sound, but it does sound pretty good. So onto the original poster then. Haven't got no postcard with this edition, but I'm sure there would have been one, I'm guessing. But here's the original poster anyway. So of course you've got that fabulous picture of John at his piano, playing his tunes. Good stuff. So onto the Quadrophonic vinyl then. This one feels a little bit thinner than the previous edition. Once again there you've got the Apple Records around the perimeter there, with Imagine, John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band, and the Flux Fiddlers. With on the left there you've got the Northern Songs credits there, with an EMI recording, 33 1/3, and of course manufactured in the UK. With on the right there you've got the Quadrophonic logo with Quadrophonic wording, and of course the catalogue number and side 1. With all the tracks listed there on side 1, were produced by John, Yoko, and Phil Spector. With the matrix on the side being QEX 865-3. So flipping that over then, side 2. Once again you've got the Apple Records around the perimeter there, with Imagine, John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band, and the Flux Fiddlers. With the EMI recording details, 33 1/3, manufactured in the UK. On the right there you've got the Quadrophonic logo with all the Quadrophonic details and catalogue number, side 2. And of course you've got the Northern Songs details and joint copyright there with Yoko and P1971, with all the tracks listed for side 2 and produced by John and Yoko and Phil Spector. with the final matrix on this side being QEX 866-4. And as I said, it sounds just slightly different than the original mix, being a quadrophonic mix on a stereo system. Fabulous stuff though, real good. So thank you all for joining me today, guys, and tuning in on the solo years. And I really hope you've enjoyed seeing all those fabulous John Lennon Imagine LPs that I've got from my collection. And don't forget, as always, I really appreciate any comments or communication I get from any of you Beatles people. And I will, of course, reply to you just as soon as I can. So the next episode then of the solo years, we'll be back again with episode 8. And of course, it's Wings and their first album, Wildlife. So next time then, I'm going to be showing the fabulous George Harrison Dark Horse Years CD box set. So please make sure you're here in 2 weeks. Same Beatles time, same Beatles channel. So anyway, as always, if you enjoy what I'm doing, why not give us a like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos. This is BeatleDave signing off. BeatleDave.